Would you like to know the secret to making your guitar really sing? Well, you won't find the answer in a million pentatonic patterns or cramming your brain with theory. But you can start to unlock this by mastering string bending and vibrato. And this is especially important if you want to become a competent blues guitar player. You know, all of us have what I call a sound concept in our mind. That's our own unique sound of how we hear and interpret things. And as you develop your blues bending and your vibrato skills, you start to bring this out. And it's something that's unique to you. You know, think about B.B. King and his vibrato. Like, nobody sounded like that. Or Eric Clapton, right? He's got a very signature vibrato as well. So in this video, I want to share with you 5 beginner blues guitar vibrato mistakes I see all the time, starting with number 1, and that's the nervous vibrato. And this is something that really kind of shows an insecure player. And what it is, what happens is they hit a note and they might just stay kind of on a straight tone where they have no vibrato, like just hitting the note. But then all of a sudden, towards the end, like it's almost like they're caught naked in public or something, and they start kind of spazzing out like, and add this real kind of just nervous sounding vibrato, like, oh, I should be doing something, and they become kind of unconfident in their note choice. Now, another key thing about this is it's definitely not in the groove. It's almost like an involuntary reflex. And so when you add vibrato, you want to think about it and have intention with it, right? So whether you're going to hit the note and then you're going to add the vibrato, you're going to start with vibrato right away. And when you just kind of reflex into it, it shows like, hey, I wasn't really thinking about what I was doing and I'm unconfident. And it's just, like I said, a reflex. So you want to avoid this nervous vibrato. Mistake number 2 is shaking the neck and thinking this is vibrato. So you kind of saw that there, like when I hit a note. If you go like this and you actually try and shake the guitar neck, it doesn't really happen with the guitar neck, right? And I'm not talking about the kind of vibrato where, you know, you push on the headstock and the body. I'm not talking about that vibrato. That's a different thing. And you know, that you're actually kind of you're tweaking the guitar, right? You don't want to go too far. If you're too ripped, you know, then you're gonna snap your guitar neck off. So you know, keep it simple there. But this vibrato is like where people actually try and shake the guitar, right? And all you're doing is kind of just like convulsing the guitar, but that's not a controllable, trainable approach, as opposed to learning to do it, you know, with your hand, where you can control it more. So you can see I can add vibrato to any note without, I'm not shaking the neck. So you don't want to approach it that way. It has to come, again, from a trainable approach, and it comes from your hands, not actually just kind of mangling the guitar. Mistake number 3 is not returning to pitch. So guitars are an interesting instrument as opposed to a lot of other instruments, in that when you hit a note, you have this fret, right? And you're hitting the note and it's here. And what's actually happening when you do vibrato is you're oscillating the sound, like that vibrato I just demonstrated is above the note, okay? So singers can actually go above and below. The only way you can go below on guitar is if you go down to the fret that's before it and then bend up to it. So I'll give you an example of that. Like, let's say I wanted to hit this note and add vibrato. If I just play that fret, and that's my note, B, and then I go like this, I'm actually only going above the pitch, right? But if I go, you see there, and now I kind of went below, but you have to have a pitch in mind. Now, what a lot of students do is they'll add the vibrato, but then they go kind of above the note and it becomes out of tune, like you're blurring in the mind of the listener of what the note is. And that's because the player doesn't have an idea in their mind of what it should be. So you have to know what note you're going for, and then you have to make sure that as you do the vibrato, you're oscillating up. Now you can go up, you can have a wide vibrato, like you'll hear metal players, right? They do a lot of wide vibrato, or rock players do too. But you have to return to that pitch, otherwise you can just kind of sound like a drunken sailor. Now this is no different than playing your guitar out of tune. If it's horribly out of tune, it's not gonna sound good. And if your ear isn't trained to be able to know then you can't really tell. And if you've struggled with this, then go to johnmcclennan.com/golden-ear and get your hands on my free ear training cheat sheet. Ear training is a skill that helps you develop this pitch. It's called relative pitch. It's where you know kind of what note's going to happen next, and you can hear it in your mind. You can get my free cheat sheet for this. Just go to johnmcclennan.com/golden-ear and grab my free ear training cheat sheet. So not returning to pitch is an awful mistake that you want to avoid. And what goes right along with this is mistake number 4, and that's vibrato that is too wide. Now, I'm talking about this for blues guitar. There are other styles where wide vibrato is a thing. For example, metal music. Listen to Yngwie Malmsteen, and you'll hear his vibrato is super wide. Then you listen to rock players who are kind of tamed down a little bit from there. You know, they'll have, listen to like Angus Young. He kind of has a real wide vibrato. But when you listen to players like B.B. King, like, he has this real kind of shallow vibrato. And so you have to fit this stylistically to the tune. In most other styles other than metal, you don't really want to go too wide. Again, if you're playing metal and want a wide vibrato, then go for it. But keep in mind the previous mistake of having that pitch in your mind so that you don't throw the listener off. And if you listen to the greatest blues players, you know, Stevie Ray Vaughan, B.B. King, Eric Clapton, Peter Green, you'll hear that their vibrato is more refined in this area. And now for the worst, deadliest, most cringe-worthy mistake with vibrato that most amateur guitar players make is not locking into the groove. Now, some players say, oh, it's okay, vibrato can just be free, it doesn't have to relate to the beat, but I've never heard this sound good. And every record that I listen to, all the great players, they're locking into the feel and the beat of the music. It's not random. It actually has a specific pulse that fits into the music. And that pulse should dictate everything you do in a song. And this is really what makes something have feeling that just hits you. If it's just kind of floaty and whatever, it's just, then people are gonna feel that. They're just gonna be like, whatever, I don't care. But when you hear it lock into the beat, so I'll give you an example of this. Like, let's say we were playing a slow blues, like, and I went, so I'm actually starting to think a bop, 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 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a, and that's a guiding rhythm that I'm thinking about as I'm adding the vibrato. Now you could double that, which is another very common vibrato, which would be sextuplets. 1 2 3 4 5 6 1 2 3 4 5 6 1 2 3 4 5 6 1 2 3 4 5 6 6 beats or 6 notes per beat, 6 oscillations of vibrato per beat. That would sound like this. So again, despite what many online gurus say, you have to flow with the beat. And it's not random, it's got to lock in, and this is what's gonna make you sound more pro, more refined, and make your guitar really sing. So there you have it. Those are 5 blues guitar vibrato mistakes. If you rid these of your playing, then you're immediately gonna sound more pro. And if you wanna make sure that your ear is trained to hear all these different nuances and know when you're right in tune and right where you need to be, then go to johnmcclennan.com/golden-ear and get your hands on my free ear training cheat sheet. Ear training is how I've been able to figure out thousands of songs and put up lessons online, be able to hear those nuances and, okay, B.B. King does his vibrato like this, Eric Clapton does his vibrato like this, and emulate that in my own style. Again, it's completely for free. Just go to johnmcclennan.com/golden-ear and grab that now as my gift to you. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, you might like this one next.